Hello and welcome back to my channel, or the All Read Already podcast if you're joining me via podcast. My name is Allison Giordano. I am the author of this book, which is a young adult supernatural urban fantasy. I talk about it all over socials, so if you're interested in that, please go follow me on all the socials because you'll know exactly what it's about and you'll be able to get a copy if you'd like. But we are not here to talk about my book today. We are here to talk about the state of our TBR because it's bad. And I know it's bad because every single person who I follow in the author book space on social media right now is talking about how for this year, their goal is to actually read the books on their TBR, especially their physical TBR. And I am just as guilty of this. I have this beautiful bookshelf that I set up in the last several months. And one thing I noticed as I was putting all my books on my shelves and starting to think about like how to catalog them and categorize them, there are a lot on here that I haven't read yet, like a concerning amount. And I get it. We love books. That's why we're here. That's why we engage with the content that we do. We love stories. We love the books that we love. We like to have trophies and we like to have special editions. And all of that is absolutely good and acceptable and part of the reason why we have so much fun in this space as we do. However, I think the book space has been a victim of the overconsumption that we see just from social media. Everything feels new, it feels exciting, it feels like something that we absolutely need to engage with, and so we do. And again, that is great. I'm not saying that we go on a book buying ban. I'm pretty sure that that is just a cute little inside joke that we made up so we can all giggle about something. When our partners, our friends, or family, or just anybody who doesn't understand say like, oh, don't you have enough books? Like, oh yeah. But it's not a serious thing, and nor should it. We're not talking about restricting ourselves here. We're not talking about being limiting. All we're talking about is being more intentional with the books that we do choose to read and the books that we are now choosing to engage with as consumers. Because I am most certainly not doing the math, girl math or otherwise, on how much money I've spent on these books that I have not read. So like so many of you, a huge goal for me in 2025 is going to be reading the books that are actually on my TBR. Now, like I said, I have a lot. So this is not something that we are going to power through, especially I'm a mood reader. I know a lot of us are mood readers. If I was forcing myself to read X amount of these books, it just wouldn't happen. And then I'd be in the same position a year from now where I've read 100 books, I own 100 more books, potentially, and even more that need to be read that are not getting read. So my solution to this is what I'm calling the TBR 25 challenge. And it really is as simple as it sounds. I do have more than 25 physical books on my TBR. So instead of trying to power through and do all my TBRs at once or anything like that, I'm just going to be doing 25, both because it's a nice round number and also because it is 2025. And these 25 books are just going to get mixed into my usual chaos system for how I read as many books as I do in a calendar year. A really easy framework to think about this is 2 books a month from my TBR versus from Vibes. And then just one extra one on top of that. And when you think about it that way, it seems really simple, especially for someone like me who does read close to, if not 100 books every single year. This is only a small fraction of the books that I would typically read. That being said, there are plenty of people who are much more busy than I am or don't listen to as many audiobooks as I do, and therefore 25 might be a really huge goal for the year. And if that's the case, like please feel free to engage with this challenge in a way that works for you. Maybe that's 2 books, maybe that's 5 books, maybe you don't even have a physical TBR. Don't worry about it. This is not to be shaming in any sort of way. And if anything, I'm ashamed that I have so many freaking TBR books on my bookshelf that I have not read. But for me and for a lot of people who I do see on social media who do read a bunch of books a year, this is something that should be very manageable if you think about it in that context. However, that's not giving space for the fact that like I am such a mood reader. I know that there's going to be months where I really don't read at all, let alone anything that I feel obligated to read, which obligation is such a funny way to put it, simply because I bought all these books for a reason. I bought these books because I wanted to read them, and then just for whatever reason it didn't work out, and now the fact that they are unread is the biggest mental hurdle in me actually finally reading them, which we're going to blame ADHD, demand avoidance on that, because when you spell it out like that, it's kind of like, girl, just read the book. But if you are like me and you have a little bit of neurodivergency going on and you need something to excite you into doing this thing that now might feel like an obligation for you, think of this as a challenge, and I hope you join me in participating in the challenge. And if you do, please connect with me on socials. I'm going to be posting updates throughout the year about how I'm actually going through and tackling all of my books. So if you decide to do this with me, please feel free to share that as well, because it'll be really exciting to see how everybody is making serious progress on this goal that I think a lot of us have right now. But without further ado, I'm going to share the 25 books that I'm going to make a serious effort to prioritize in my reading for 2025. All right, we got stack one. So first one up, and probably the easiest one for me to tackle, though it's not the one I'm going to tackle first because I've already made a decision on the first one I'm going to do. But that is The King of Elfhame by Holly Black. It is a novella, and it is part of the Cruel Prince series, which I have in this special little stack right here under a crochet project I never finished. Because of the length specifically and how much I did enjoy that series, I think this will be a really easy one for me to tackle. I picked up this book a couple months ago. I set it on the shelf with all the others, and that was as far as I got. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. This probably will be pretty quickly into the new year. And then I doubt myself as soon as I say that, which is the whole reason why I have such a long TBR right now. Next up, this one that I'm actually so excited for. I've heard such good things about. I picked up and I wanted to read right away, and that's as far as we got. This is Heartless Hunter. I've heard nothing but great things about this book from everyone, including people who I do really trust their opinion. So I'm really looking forward to doing this one. However, I don't think I'm going to get to it soon simply because there's too much other stuff I want to read. I'm not really in the headspace right now of seeking out new fantasy. Like, I'm not trying to world build at the moment. Any world building I'm doing is for my own books, not for books that I'm reading. Which is a perfect segue into The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because this is another one where same thing. I love V.E. Schwab so much too. Her Darker Shade of Magic series is possibly my all-time favorite series. Like, that series seriously changed my brain chemistry. So the fact that I was so obsessed and I didn't immediately want to dive into more V.E. Schwab, I don't know what that says about me. However, I'm just not there. Like, I really do want to read this book. Also, this might be a book club book for my work book club in the next couple months. I'm holding out hope that that would give me like a really good reason to read it. But like, again, right now I'm just like, I'm not trying to learn a new world. I'm just not there mentally. Even though I do think that one's more magical realism than fantasy, so it probably shouldn't even be in that category, but it is in my brain, so it's gonna stay that way, unfortunately. Taking a quick break from speculative fiction, we have some cute Christmas rom-coms. These were books that I was super excited to read in December, and I end up reading a couple other Christmassy books that hadn't been on my TBR. Because of timing, these two didn't make the cut, but I'm still super excited for them. So that is The Christmas Cookie Wars, and this is All I Want Is You by Fallon Ballard. Both of these I will be reading next December. So that was kind of funny because I was so anxious when I was originally making the TBR 25 list. Like, I'm going to read all these books. I'm like, oh no, but I do actually want to read these books in December of next year. So that's two down that I know I'm actually going to read. So we're looking forward to that. Got another hefty stack for you. So this is the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which I am realizing I have them out of order. Okay, that's the right order. I'm obsessed with Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Her Natural series was a book that I read in high school, college. Love that series. I'm so glad that it's getting all the attention that it deserves now. And I have heard good things about the series as well. I picked them all up just assuming I'd read them and then didn't really get to it. I know there is a fifth one in the series now too. I don't own it, and I'm not going to own it until I actually read these 4 books. Look at me, this is growth. But I'm really excited for this series, and I do own the majority of the series, which I can't say for every single book I have on this list. So if I actually get through this is a huge check off my physical TBR. So we're gonna pop over to this shelf because I have a lot on this shelf specifically that need to be read. First is, I knocked over all my books. A Fate Inked in Blood, which again, I've heard nothing but great things about. I think I've heard so many great things that I'm just anxious to dive into this myself. I also have it on audiobook, and I did start it and I just didn't get through chapter 2 for no reason. Like I've said for some of the other books, I wasn't in a learning the world building of an entire fictional world mood, and then therefore it didn't go super well for me. So I am probably going to listen to this one on audiobook, even though I have a nice sprayed edge copy of this book. But that should be a nice, easy way for me to actually read it because I already own the audiobook. And then this book was the book that I actually knocked over when I was pulling out the other one. But this is Business Casual by B.K. Borison. It is the continuation of the Love Light Farm series that I have here. I read the first 3 books. I loved the first 3 books. This one came out last year, I believe, and I picked it up thinking I was going to read it right away and didn't. But that one is actually the first one that I do think I'm going to read this year, just because I was talking a lot about Love Light Farms during the holiday season. I didn't reread the book this time around, but people were talking about it. I was talking about it. I was getting excited. So I really am excited to get to the conclusion of the series. Another sequel I just never got around to is Apprentice to the Villain. I listened to the trial audiobook for this, and like the comedy just like wasn't hitting the same by the performance than it does on the page. So I am going to have to like sit down and read this one, which I honestly haven't been doing a ton of recently. It's either been strictly audiobook or it's been like on my Kindle like here and there, and I already have this on physical copy, again with sprayed edges, so I'm not going to get it on my Kindle as well. So it just hasn't made the cut so far. But I'm not too worried about it because I know the 3rd book is due to come out, I think later this year, if not early next year. So I won't mind if I hold off on finishing this one until closer to that 3rd book comes out. But it is definitely something that I don't want to wait too long. I want to be able to read it, be excited, and then read the final. Another series that I'm missing just the last book of this is LaDonna and Foxglove by Adeline Grace. There is a 3rd one, Wisteria, as well. I know I'm going to love this. Like, there's literally no reason for me not to love this. Everything that I've heard, I'm like, this is exactly my kind of book, my cup of tea, which is why I did get the first 2, because I knew I was going to want to jump like right into the next one after I finished the first. We just haven't gotten there yet. Again, world building. I'm not there emotionally at the moment, but we're working on it. We've burned through a lot already, so I gotta check my notes. I don't know where I put some of these. There's actually dust on this one because it's been so long since I got this book. So this is a very, very small book by Veronica Roth called Arch Conspirator. I know nothing about it. I just knew it was Veronica Roth. I'm obsessed with Divergent. I'm more obsessed, actually, with Chosen Ones, which is her, like, superhero subversion book that came out a few years ago. Like, again, that's one of the books that like changed my brain chemistry. So when I saw she had something new out, I bought it. And it's too short for me not to just read at some point, hopefully soon. And at this point, I don't want to know anything about it. Like, I didn't know anything about Chosen One going into it either. I just knew it was Veronica Roth, and therefore I was going to read it, and like took me by surprise, blew me away, all of the above. So I'm kind of excited to just go in blind again this time around. All right, we're going to switch back to romance. I have a whole cute little pile here. First up, we have How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. I totally picked this one up for vibes. Basically, it had love story in the title, which is right up my alley. It's also Avery's book club pick, and Emily Henry said it's one of the sexiest, smartest, funniest, most effective novels I read in a long time. So that's a pretty good recommendation, in my opinion. Speaking of Emily Henry, I have Funny Story. I do have the cover off. I liked the aesthetic of like the white and pink on my shelf, and I put the dust jacket somewhere safe that's not here anymore. But you guys already know what book this is. I'm really excited for this one. I do have Happy Place on my shelf as well. That's technically a TBR, except I'm never going to read it. I heard Happy Place isn't a happy book, and I don't like depressing myself, if I'm totally honest. So Funny Story seems right up my alley. I do tend to love Emily Henry in general. Even some of her books like aren't exactly like what I would say my favorite book. Like Beach Read, is that my favorite type of romance? No. Did I love it? Yes. Book Lovers, is that my type of book? Absolutely. Did I love it? I sobbed. And I told people I sobbed, and they're like, why? And I'm like... So super excited for this one, definitely waiting for the warmer weather. Then we have The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. I read her other 2 books, I really enjoyed them, so this was just an auto buy when I saw it at Barnes & Noble. I'm not a huge sports romance girly. I don't dislike it. I've read plenty that I've really enjoyed. It's just like never something I seek out on purpose. But I haven't been disappointed so far. And then, I forgot about this book. I can't believe I haven't read it yet. This is The Takedown by Lily Chu. I love Lily Chu. I gobbled up her other 2 books. I think they're so good. I also love the audiobook, so I tend to do both just because her books are super cute, like to look at, and also like the audiobooks are just really well produced. I think I just kept saying last year, like, oh, I'll do that one next, I'll do that one next, and then like 18 months went by. So I'm really excited for this one. She has a fourth one out as well. They're not a series, they're anthologies, but there are like some connecting elements, which I always love. I'm honestly not even sure what the next one's called, but like I do know that if I read this one, I probably am going to read the fourth or her fourth right away as well. Okay, I have to go very quickly find the rest of the books that are on my TBR because they're not here. Baby boy. Okay, got the last of them. So this one is Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's called Half-Blood. It has nice purple edges, which is why I bought it. I really like a lot of her books, and I have another one of hers that's on my TBR as well, but it's not making it for this time around. It's called Fall of Ruin and Wrath. And one of her books, I don't know if it was this one or not, was used as a comp for my book. I think it was this one. I think that's why I was like, oh no, I like need to get this one. But like now that I'm saying that, I'm honestly not entirely sure. But reading the back, it's like magic school, falling for Aiden isn't her biggest problem. So like, yeah, I can see the comparison to my book for sure. Oh, and like falling for her trainer and stuff like that. Okay, so since it's similar to my book, I definitely want to read it and see what it's all about, but we'll get there. Then we have one I'm less excited about. I've heard nothing but mixed things about this book, which I think makes it hard for me to know how I feel about it, if that makes sense, because I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm only one chapter in. I might be on chapter 2 now, but so far there's been like one thing where I'm like, I think I'm supposed to like this and I don't, and then something else where I'm like, I feel like I'm not supposed to like this, and this is like the best part to me so far. But like, I'm literally 2 chapters in. I cannot judge a book based off of the first 2 chapters. However, I'm just like, I'm not getting into this one the way that I thought. Like, based off everything I knew about this book, I was like, I'm going to love this. And then I started and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, which just makes it a little hard for me to get excited, especially because this one is a series as well. The second one's out, the third one's oncoming. I don't know. This one I've been like actively attempting to read for the last 2 months, so it made sense for this one to start for my TBR, but honestly, it's making it back to the end of the list just because if I do end up liking it and wanting to continue on with the series, I want to have like the space in my reading plan. I don't have a reading plan, but my metaphorical reading plan to be able to continue on with the series. But I might not get there, so I don't know. It's gonna have to be a vibe call. But then this one I am so excited for, The Games Gods Play. This is my whole Percy Jackson shelf that's overflowing. I literally have to break up the Percy Jackson books because I have so many now. I'm a god girly. I love it. I'm so excited. I've heard amazing things about this one. Also, it's beautiful. Like, everything about this is beautiful. So I can't wait. Again, same as a lot of the ones I said before. World building, not there yet. Hope I get there soon because I do really want to read these books. I'm just very tired at the moment. Another one that I have no excuse not to have read yet. This is This Cruel Fate by Maddie Bloom. My bookmark fell out. I'm friends with Maddie Bloom. She actually read a chapter of this book at my book launch. She's local. Her and I have chit-chatted a whole bunch. We've done a few different events together now. I'm so excited for this book. It seems actually really similar to a book I was just gassing up earlier, Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. Like, I think it's similar vibes, like what happens after like the curtain closes on like a big adventure. This one's more sci-fi than fantasy, I believe, but it's very much like there's a world you think you know, but it's actually much different than what you thought, which I don't know if you can call that a trope. That's a lot of words for a trope, but if that's a trope, I love that trope. And she's already read my book too, so like I really need to read her book. It's just, I actually had 2 more because I forgot about this one. This is The Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. It's their little crossover. It's a novella. Looks middle grade. I'm a huge Percy Jackson girly, so like I'll dive into some middle grade, but I think that's why I keep putting it off, because you have to be in a specific mood for middle grade, and that's not a mood I've been in recently. But I do want to write middle grade, so like that's actually my whole problem. It's not that I don't want to read middle grade, it's that if I start reading middle grade, I'm going to want to finish my middle grade work in progress, and I got too many things I like have to do in the next few months to be doing anything like that. And last but not least, I probably should have saved like a more dramatic one for last, like Heartless Hunter, and be like, and you guys aren't going to believe I haven't read this book yet, but I didn't. I just have The Breakup Vacation. This is actually an MTV book, which like I didn't know MTV did books, but I will hear no MTV slander. I'm too young for a lot of what MTV was known for, but like Teen Wolf was a huge inspiration for my book. I love Teen Wolf, and therefore I'm down to read something from MTV. And when I got this book, I was so excited to read it over the summer last summer. Can't tell you what happened. I can't tell you. It's not a good excuse. I'll tell you that much. But I love the artwork. I think it's so cute. The plants, the concept. This is just like right up my alley when I'm looking for a beach book or a pool book, because I live in Denver now. And yeah, that is my TBR for 2025. I feel like I ripped through a lot of books very quickly, and honestly, I don't have a lot to say on them just because I haven't read them yet. But I'm really excited to. Like I said, I bought all of these books for a reason. It's because I thought I was going to enjoy them. I was excited to read them. I don't know what happened. The problem isn't that I let them sit on my shelf for so long and haven't gotten to them. The problem is that I have since then gone out, bought another new book that I heard one person say one things about, and I thought the cover was cute. And I actually just sat down and read it that day, rather than like respecting the fact that I had already invested money into a very similar vibe, that like I just prioritize something like new and novel. Oh my God, no pun intended, over what I had done in the past. And I just don't think that's good practice for myself in general. I want to be intentional in all things this year. And that includes not only just where I spend my money, but where I spend my time. And I want to be spending my time on things that like I intentionally made the decision to spend my time on, not just letting me be dragged from whim to whim because I saw one really funny TikTok. And I love the funny TikTok. So like I'll absolutely keep that coming. I will put that on my digital TBR. I have so many books on my digital TBR that I will quite literally never be able to read them all. But at least I didn't get so far as investing serious money into this thing I'm then never going to engage with again. So this is it. This is the year for me and for a lot of people of actually putting a dent in what we have invested our time and money into previously, and getting out of it what we expected to get out of it initially, which is like fun, entertainment, value, all that great stuff. So maybe when you were watching this, you realized that you had some of these on your shelf, or maybe it just inspired you to pick up a new book, whatever it may be. If you are interested in joining me in the TBR 25 challenge, find 25 books that you want to read, assuming that that is a reasonable goal for you. Because again, if 25 in a year sounds daunting, period, then absolutely do not make it books that you feel some sort of obligation towards. You can always choose less and do less, and that is absolutely valid and amazing. So, but if you're like me and you blow past 25 anyway, then you might as well make 25 of them books that you already have. And then keep buying books that you are going to actively read still. It's the best of both worlds, so why not do it? Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you liked my new setting with my bookshelf rather than where I usually am over by my computer. If you want to keep up with me on how I'm doing with the challenge, or if you're curious about my book at all, which I mentioned a couple times, please check out my socials. I am Allison_Giordano on all platforms except for TikTok right now because my account got hacked. That's a whole story. That's Allison_Giordano_author. Did you notice me forget my own last name in the middle of that sentence? Like I said, ADHD girly. If you joined me on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And if you're joining me through podcast, please rate, especially if it's 5 stars, and leave a review. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys later this month with more content. I'm going to be doing how to self-edit because that's something that I just dove into pretty heavily. I have like a whole new process. I'm really excited to share my process, and yeah, so stay tuned for that because it'll be coming shortly.